yes, and then I said, don't you know my name?
Iris, why not go for a swimming session tonight?
Our name is part of our identity. When someone calls our name, we respond immediately. Have you ever noticed you're walking down the street and someone calls your name, but they are actually calling someone else who has the same name as you? You turn around, you can see that they are not calling you, but you still are interested to know who this other person is who has the same name as you. Even when we're in a group and we hear our name mentioned by someone who is not even in our group, we still try to pick up on what they are saying. Carnegie said, a person's name is to that person the sweetest, most important sound in any language. My name has a different pronunciation in all the languages that I speak, and yet when I hear it, no matter the language or the pronunciation, I still like it. Whoever says it or whatever they say becomes relevant for me and my world. Now imagine all that we feel when someone says our name, but now felt by someone else when they hear their name. Saying someone's name when interacting with them is so easy to do, and yet so few of us do it. I know in my life I actually was not sure whether some people knew my name at all, because they would never say it when talking with me. Let me start with why we should use someone's name when in a conversation with them, and then I'll mention 5 ways that we can use to make using people's names come naturally. It's important to use someone's name when talking with them for a number of reasons. It's the easiest way to get their attention. When you use their name, they become more open to listening to what you have to say. According to Carnegie, remembering someone's name and calling it easily is a very effective compliment that you pay them. Using someone's name in conversation makes them look at you differently, because they feel like they matter to you. They're not just one number in your world. Another reason why they look at you differently is because not so many people use their name when talking to them. So you using their name makes you stand out. Using the other person's name makes us feel not only important, but also more connected to them because you're focusing your attention on them. I don't think everyone realizes how powerful using someone's name is. Whatever the case may be, there are people who don't do it. Many people are introverted, and saying someone's name might feel to them like they're overstepping, like that's something too intimate to do, and they feel insecure because they think that they haven't earned that right with the other person. So what are some ways to use people's name and use it correctly, especially in the workplace? 1. Make a commitment to use someone's name when interacting with them. We could at one point in time be aware of the influence that saying someone's name when talking with them has, but we may forget right after. To avoid the forgetting part, we should decide to do it. And the best way to do that is by making it a habit. For example, we could tell ourselves, every time that I talk with someone, I will use their name at least once the moment I say hello. To make something a habit, we should be very specific. For instance, if we were to say, every time I talk with someone, I will use their name, the next time that we meet someone, there's a high chance that we won't remember to use their name. But deciding on a specific time when to do it will make us remember. The moment we meet someone and say hello, it will make us go back to that commitment that we made to ourselves and will remember to use the person's name immediately. This is only for the beginning, when we're still getting used to using people's names when talking with them. Once it becomes a habit, we won't need to decide when or how many times we need to use someone's name. It becomes natural. 2. Just ask what their name is. During a period in my life with a fluctuating self-confidence, on several occasions I was meeting new people, but either they didn't introduce themselves or I didn't ask them for their name. Those conversations were doomed from the very beginning, and I will tell you why. I didn't know their name, which meant that if I wanted to ask them something personal, like what they did or even how their day was, I could ask it, but it felt very neutral and would not build any rapport. Minute after minute, it became more awkward to ask them what their name was. At the same time, if they were aware that I didn't know their name, they would probably start losing interest in talking to me. Even if I knew their name but didn't use it once, there's a high probability that they would still lose interest. So next time you're introduced to someone, simply ask, what's your name? Even if it's been a few moments that you are talking to that person but you don't know their name, you could say, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Even if you have met that person a couple of times but you never learned their name, you can still say, it's embarrassing at this point, but I never got to learn your name. What's your name? They could feel bad in that moment, but they will still appreciate you asking, especially if the next time that you meet them, you make it a point to use their name right away. They will notice it, appreciate it, and forget about the time when you ask for their name the second or third time that you met them. Another instance concerns those who, like me, live in a foreign country. Living in another country, especially when the environments that we frequent are very international, we tend to meet people from all over the world. I have met people from so many different cultures, and that has made me run into names that I was not used to. The best way to handle situations when we don't understand someone's name is to ask for their spelling, or just repeat their name and then ask, am I pronouncing it correctly? Number 3, when you ask for something, use their name, always. When your boss comes to you and asks you to do something with, can you do this? Doesn't really make you feel connected to your boss and to the task as well that they're asking of you. But when what they say is, Iris, can you do this? I feel like now they are talking with me and not to me. And it becomes my mission to do what they are asking me to do. Put in this way, some people could consider using someone's name as manipulation. It is true that saying someone's name could be seen as being manipulative to a certain degree, because once we start using other people's names, we inevitably start feeling more connected to them, more caring and invested in them, because we spend, even if just a few moments, thinking about them. 4. Use their name in your emailing. Don't write a plain hello or good afternoon when you're emailing. Add their name as well every time that you email them. Depending on your relationship, whether it's formal or informal, there is a certain distinction in how you refer to them. When your relationship is friendly and informal, then writing their name is acceptable and preferable. When your relationship with the other person is formal, then you should still add their first or last name for that matter, but with the appropriate title, Mr., Mrs., Professor. But don't let the formality of the relationship stop you from writing their name altogether. Or if you're not sure how you should refer to them, the simplest thing to do is ask them what they prefer to be called. And number 5, don't overdo it. Using someone's name too much in a conversation might be seen as you trying to manipulate them, especially if this is a one-time thing. They will notice it if you never use their name so often during your conversations before. That is why we should be cautious, particularly if we are just starting to make using people's names a habit, because that is when we may be experimenting. We don't know when we should use their name, how often in one conversation, and we may end up overdoing it. I think we should be aware and careful of extremes. We shouldn't refrain from using someone's name altogether, and we shouldn't use someone's name in every sentence that we say. I would say the sweet spot is use someone's name when saying hello and goodbye, and in those moments during conversation when you want to make it personal. For example, when you are talking about a topic or you put forward a question but you want to know their personal opinion, you could say something like, in that situation, I did this thing to solve the problem. What do you think, Becca? Or when you want to make a bigger impact on something, then again, you use their name. Like, that experience was superb, but let me tell you, Mark, what I found even more extraordinary about it. Bottom line, just steer clear from both extremes. Everywhere else in between, you should be okay and safe to play with until you find your sweet spot. Using someone's name when interacting with them is something so simple that can very easily become enjoyable when done right. It's at the same time something that both parties profit from. So there is an incentive for both parties to do this. If you still, after all that I just said, don't believe me, just try it. Next time you run into someone who you have never said their name while in a conversation with them, try adding their name casually. You will for sure notice how they will notice it. What makes it even more noticeable is that it's something that you've never done before, and the other person picks up on that instantly. So there you have it. I will see you in the next video.